My dearest brothers and sisters, this is Hakann speaking. I greet you in peace and love. From our perspective, most of you lack sufficient free-flowing energy in your body. This is part of the reason why you're aging so quickly, and it is part of the reason why you get sick so often, again from our perspective. Also, having sufficient free-flowing energy in your body will increase your body's ability to heal itself, plus it will help you heal psychologically and grow spiritually. Having sufficient free-flowing energy can give you access to so-called supernatural abilities. So let's talk about energy today. One part of the problem is that the energy that you do have often isn't free-flowing. The solution to this is to get rid of energetic blocks. This means taking care of your physical body in the obvious ways. Eat well, sleep enough, etc. It also means dissolving emotional blocks. For example, through observing all pain or limiting beliefs when they come up. Do those two things, and your energy will flow freely. Another part of the problem is that Earth humans often lose a lot of energy. You can lose energy in the background due to having unhealed psychological pain, or nagging insecurity, or worry, or poor physical health. Certain people can be a drain of your energy. Excessive stimuli, and not enough quiet time by yourself, can be a drain of this energy. Getting angry at the other political side can be a drain of energy. Getting excessively worried about the state of the world can be a drain of energy. Feeling really bad because some innocent people died somewhere can be a drain of energy. Unhealed or unintegrated or rebellious parts of yourself can be a drain of energy. So for example, let's say that a part of you doesn't want to go to your job every morning, but you think you have to work and so you suppress it. Well, suppressing this part of yourself can cost you some energy. I know it's not always possible to meet your inner needs, and I empathise. But if possible, try to find some way to meet these inner parts of yourself in the middle. So for example, perhaps the reason why you hate your job is a particular co-worker. Perhaps there's a way to stop being bothered by that co-worker somewhat. Or perhaps it's possible to slightly reduce the hours that you're working. Perhaps it's possible to find a new job. I know this won't always be possible, but try to meet the needs of your inner part, rather than just bulldozing them. And yes, try to accept all parts of yourself, including so-called needy or so-called unreasonable parts. Those are parts of you, and you are worthy of love the way you are right now. You don't need to be perfect. Other people aren't perfect either, and you're also not judging them for that. Also, orgasms are a drain of energy in unhealthy men and women. Most, but not all, Earth people are unhealthy. On the other hand, orgasms aren't a drain of energy in men and women who are both physically and psychologically healthy. So if a Pleiadian or exceptionally healthy Earth human have an orgasm, then he or she will automatically replenish his or her energy very quickly, and he or she isn't diminished in any way. But if an average Earth man or woman has an orgasm, then yes, this does cost them some amount of energy, more in a man than in a woman, but it also costs a woman some energy. The average Earth person isn't healthy enough just to automatically replenish their energy very quickly. This is where the Earth idea comes from, that in order to grow spiritually, people should be celibate or retain their semen or should sublimate their energy. There is some merit to this idea, and if you're talking about unhealthy people, which most humans are. I have several thoughts about this Earth idea of not orgasm. 1. Earth people sometimes excessively zoom in on not orgasming, when in reality most people lose energy from plenty of other sources too. We've just listed a bunch of them. Yes, orgasms are one important thing to consider, but other sources of energy loss should also be considered too. 2. If a person doesn't orgasm, and they also have energetic blocks, as most Earth people do, then energy will excessively build up in their pelvic region. So if a person isn't orgasming, then they should work to remove their energetic blocks as we discussed earlier, and ideally also use some exercises to circulate this excess energy. We'll discuss this later in the message. 3. Of course an orgasm can impregnate someone. Orgasms can also be used to manifest things, whether that's a new job or healing or light work or strengthening the relationship or indeed spiritual growth. This is sex magic. To do this, both partners should set the intention before the sexual act, and then visualize it together and emotionally feel as if it's already there, especially just before and during and after the orgasm. If this doesn't work, you may be too blocked, and I recommend doing more spiritual work first. Also see the message, Hakann, the manifestation hierarchy, for details about manifesting. Lastly, my fourth thought about not orgasming is that you or part of you doesn't really want to orgasm, and bulldozing that part of yourself and forcing yourself not to have an orgasm can actually suppress that part of you. An unhealed, suppressed part of you will also drain your energy. Okay, so we've talked about how a person can lose energy. So how can you gain energy? For a healthy man or woman, energy replenishes and circulates automatically. Now, many people on Earth aren't healthy, and then the obvious solution is to address the cause of the unhealthiness, whether that's physical or emotional. So it helps to just take good care of your body, to observe any pain or limiting beliefs that might come up. What you're feeling, you're healing, so as long as you don't suppress it or judge it or immediately try to change it. Crystals can help you gain energy or dissolve things that stand in the way of you having free-flowing energy. Working together with certain beings can help you give energy. So for example, angels or ascended masters. Doing fun or pleasurable or relaxing or rewarding things can generate energy. Having good conversation or cuddling with someone can generate energy. Following your passion can give you energy. Certain spiritual practices can generate energy, such as breathwork or chanting matches. Now, it's actually possible to generate so much energy via certain practices that it physically or psychologically harms you. For example, if a person who isn't ready does Kundalini yoga, then that can actually lead to negative effects. Hence, follow your intuition. If people say a certain practice is dangerous, then be careful. You can always meditate or observe or just breathe deeply and slowly. Those practices won't harm you. I also recommend the book Kriya Secrets Revealed by J.C. Stevens if you want a full, safe spiritual course. It's better still to find a good teacher, but that book is a good option if you can't find a good teacher. And also, sex without orgasm can generate a lot of energy. As we have discussed, having plenty of free-flowing energy in your body can benefit your health and spiritual growth significantly. So if your energy is pretty free-flowing, you have decent physical and emotional health, and having sex without orgasms can be an incredibly beneficial practice. Ideally, you do this practice without orgasm with a dedicated partner who is also interested in this practice. And the way you do it is simply to have slow, loving, mindful, conscious sex in the normal way, without either one of you orgasming. And after sex, it's good to help the energy circulate. After all, while having lots of free-flowing energy is beneficial, it's not beneficial to have a huge amount of energy stuck in your pelvic region. If you do this energy circling properly, you can have regular sex with someone, never orgasm, not feel excessively aroused outside of sexual times. If desired, you can keep that up for years if you want, having regular sex and never orgasming, and also not being excessively bothered by lust. Do yoga or tantra. You might know some practices to help circulate energy. Feel free to use those. Those who don't know the relevant practices, I'll offer 2 suggestions, although as always make sure to follow your inner guidance. Suggestion 1. After sex, both partners can individually circulate their own energy via the microcosmic orbit. You can Google microcosmic orbit if you've never heard of it. 2. You can do what I call the infinity practice. This is the most powerful practice of the 2, and it is the one I recommend. Here's how you do the infinity practice. After sex, the man and woman sit facing each other, close enough that they can comfortably reach each other's back, such as in the Yab Yum pose. The man and the woman slowly breathe in while the man moves from one hand from the base of her spine, on her back, up her spine, until his hand reaches the top of her head. Both people visualize the energy moving along the man's hand, for example as silver or golden energy, from her pelvis to the top of her head. Then both people breathe out, and the man slowly moves his hand from the top of her head, diagonally down to his own pelvis. Then the man and the woman slowly breathe in while the woman moves one hand from the base of his spine, on his back, up his spine, until her hand reaches the top of his head. Both people visualize the energy moving along with the woman's hand, for example as silver or golden energy, from his pelvis to the top of his head. Then both people breathe out and the woman slowly moves her hand from the top of his head diagonally down to her own pelvis. And then repeat. So the man slowly moves a hand up the woman's spine again. You can see this as an infinity symbol standing vertically in the room. So the far left and the far right, somewhat vertical parts of the infinity symbol, are when the energy is moved up the spine of one of the partners. The diagonally down parts are when the energy is moving from someone's head to the other person's pelvis. Continue with this infinity practice until you feel you've raised up enough energy to your head. There's now a pleasant amount of energy in your pelvis region and also in your head region. If you keep doing this infinity practice past that point, then you could pull so much energy into your head that you get a headache because there's too much energy in your head. That said, if you don't do this infinity practice sufficiently, then there may be too much energy in your pelvic region, and you may be bothered by excessive lust for the rest of the day. With some practice, you'll learn what works for you. Pulling too much or too little energy into your head can be annoying, but it won't harm you. It might be the case that you feel that you've pulled up enough energy to your head, but your partner still feels that they want to pull up some more energy from their pelvis to their head. In that case, they can finish with some individual microcosmic orbit practice. So that's it. This practice is just slow, loving, mindful, but otherwise normal sex without orgasm, followed by a circulation of the energy through the microcosmic orbit or through the infinity practice. This generates a lot of energy in both of you, which if your energy is free-flowing will have significant benefits for both of you. It is an enormously powerful practice. A spiritual couple regularly engages in sex without orgasm and a circulation of energy, on top of let's say 15 minutes of meditation each day. And that couple will likely have a more rapid spiritual growth than a monk in a Buddhist temple who meditates for hours every day. That said, I would only recommend this practice to people who generally feel okay with not orgasming, because bulldozing parts of yourself isn't productive in long term. If parts of you aren't okay with giving up orgasms, then I recommend just doing this for a few days as an experiment. Or you could pick one day in a week where you do this practice and don't orgasm, and you can orgasm during the other 6 days. That said, it's possible that if you have sex in this way, you'll eventually start having other kinds of orgasms. One where energy goes inwards rather than exploding outwards, as with a normal orgasm. If these other kinds of orgasms arise, enjoy them. They're great and they don't undermine this practice in any way. You don't need to resist or avoid them. With this practice, it helps to love each other and to feel that love during sex. It's good to connect your heart during lovemaking. However, two people don't love each other can also do this practice together and still have some benefit from it. If two Pleiadians don't have a person who they love, but they both find each other sexually attractive, they will sometimes start doing this practice together for fun and for the spiritual benefits. There's even a few Pleiadian spiritual masters who explicitly specialize in helping to raise the consciousness of their chosen pupils through sex, alongside normal spiritual practices. These pupils are expected to have attained a decent level already through normal spiritual practice. Then these masters can help elevate their pupils through sex without orgasms. And at higher levels, the pupils can learn to have manifestation orgasms with specific intentions behind them. Contrary to the picture you might have in your head, there are actually more female Pleiadian spiritual masters than male Pleiadian spiritual masters who specialize in this path. Think less dirty old man and more sacred priestess who is in service to the divine. Of course, pupils who seek out these kinds of quite uncommon masters know what they're getting into, and obviously the spiritual master has a choice whether or not to take on that specific pupil. Anecdotes aside, yes, loving each other does help with the practice of sex without orgasm, even if it's not strictly necessary. Another thing that helps, but isn't strictly necessary, is that you each ingest the genital fluid of the other. So during or after sex, the woman ingests the man's pre-ejaculate, the man ingests the woman's vaginal fluid. It suffices to just give each other a normal amount of regular oral sex, because then you're ingesting some of that fluid automatically. If you don't have a partner, you can just masturbate by yourself without orgasming and then circulate the energy. This is a significantly less powerful version of the practice, but it still has benefits. A homosexual couple can do this practice too and benefit from it, though they will usually get less benefits from this than a heterosexual couple will. So to summarise this message, Having sufficient free-flowing energy in your body is very beneficial for your health and spiritual growth. We've discussed several ways in which you can gain and lose energy. Sex and orgasms are a big part of this discussion, but they're certainly not the only relevant factors. Please take care not to bulldoze parts of yourself, because that is one of those things that will cost you energy, in addition to being unkind to yourself. You deserve all the love in the world. I hope this was helpful. I love you very much. The Star Brother, Hakann.